After an exciting start to the quest for the Triple Crown, the top drivers in the Misfit Touring Series get ready to raid the last great Coliseum. Let's let them rip once again and get ready to see who conquers Bristol. Live on Podium Esport. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to iRacing's Virtual at Bristol. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside me is Scott Shive. With behind the scenes, our director, Christian Hill. Getting set for what's the second leg of the Triple Crown here today. To say the very least, Scott, the intensity expected to be high tonight. Just a half mile when it comes to the high banks of Bristol. And after an exciting start to the campaign, the quest for the Triple Crown could get very interesting tonight.
Well, we saw an excellent race last week, Justin, at Slinger Motor Speedway, and I expect the exact same thing here tonight at Bristol. It's a 200-lap race, so it's a long one tonight. These drivers will have to endure the lights of Bristol, and I am completely ecstatic, Justin.
And in turn, it's the second to last race when you include the Touring Series lead-in to the Triple Crown. There's a lot of expectations, to say the very least, entering today, especially for drivers like Jake, Sylvia, and more, among some of the favorites once again. Remember, the Triple Crown Showdown, for those who do not know, essentially is a 3-race closing cap to the campaign with the top 15 finishers from the 2023 season. All those drivers secured invites, anyone else, $10 to enter as part of these events. The champion of this series, amongst the 3-race point schedule and slotting, gets the custom handmade belt buckle from Molly's Custom Silver. And Slinger, last time out, to say the very least, extremely wild. Many drivers did pick up some penalty points to their sheets. And today, the drivers look to clean it up a little bit when it comes to Bristol, a track that also can have a lot of incidents. Keep in mind, with the speeds expected today, the lap counts have been adjusted for the LCQ and the heat races today, but not the feature. That's still 200 laps.
It is going to be a great one here. We're going to have 15 lap heats where the top 7 will advance, and then our 13 lap last chance race where the top 2 will advance. Like you said, 200 lap feature race. What about our stories of the race, Justin? What are we going to see today?
Well, some of the things noted down there, tire saving going to be critical because Bristol, the more you turn the laps, the more likely to turn those temperatures up. As well, talked about coming into today, the big one. The reason that's down there on the notes is you're talking about the potential drivers going no lift into the corners outside of maybe blip to the throttle, not expecting too much braking per se, Scott. We've seen a lot of big crashes in turn because of that mindset. For example, in, say, the NASCAR Craftsman trucks in open competition. Post-race penalties definitely something to avoid because here's the thing about that list. When talking about how many drivers added their names to that list of drivers with penalties, it's somewhere around 15 or 20 different incidents recorded that added a penalty point to at least 10, 15 drivers entering Bristol.
We know here, Justin, that the key to winning the Triple Crown Showdown is having the least amount of points. And we see that Sean Urich has the least amount of points right now with 2, and you don't want those points. And with each penalty you get, you add a point to that. So these drivers want to avoid that at all as possible. Kyle Adams, league owner, saw last week that it was absolutely crazed, had to clear up the rules and say, hey guys, we got to clean this up because if not, you're going to lose. And Sean Urich, Bradley Stefan, some of those other guys, they got the memo. And so today, you're looking to keep it as clean as possible.
And remember, this is open setup when it comes to tonight's action as these drivers get ready to race with the late model stock. Now, for reference, what is the late model stock? Essentially, in iRacing, that's reference to what they use in the Cars Tour these days. And in turn, it's one of the more very competitive understatements when it comes to how much teams on the short track side emphasize how to build a setup in those cars. Because here's the thing, Scott. If you want to be able to succeed in real life, one of the biggest ladders and steps you go to, the late model stock level. For many people, super late models and late model stock, the pinnacle of some of the highest you can get before you get to the national stock car level for short track racing.
These cars are not easy to drive, Justin. That's the reason that they are that big stepping stone that you talk about. This car and the super late model are so difficult, and it takes a very talented driver to be able to wheel it, especially at a place like this at Bristol. You talked about how today we're going to save tires. These guys are going to be on the loud pedal almost the entirety of this race because of the way this car is set up and how these guys have made their setups here at the Coliseum. They'll be on the pedal almost the whole time, not on the brakes, and they'll be watching out for that. So this car is hard to drive, and these guys are the guys to do it.
Currently, drivers are in the midst of their drivers' meeting before we get things started today. We're just in the final few moments before the qualifying session gets itself kicked off. A reminder that today's action brought to you not only by Molly's Custom Silver, but also by Spartamax.net. SEO number 1 is bio-based CLP. That is high-performance proprietary bio-based solvent package that deep cleans and removes carbon, that also assists in the clean burn of a repellent to help reduce the cleaning time. The oil is a very special aerospace lubricant with proprietary surfactants that will allow the firearms to function very well in cold applications, to also help reduce friction and improve the function of firearms performances. Once again, drivers were told just about moments ago that the first number selected for the qualifying order, Jake Sylvia. No pressure, but Jake Sylvia just so happens to be one of the top drivers you can talk about with potential to win, a 6-time winner during the regular season this year for Misfit.
Absolutely amazing what we saw this season from Jake Sylvia, the first season of the Misfit Touring Series, and he absolutely dominated. We saw that from the beginning. Once he got his first 2 wins, we knew that this guy was going to be the guy to beat, and we saw he was crowned as our Season 1 champion, and here he is coming to take that back and say, hey, I was the champion this season, but now I'm here. I'm ready to win the Triple Crown. I want that belt buckle, but it is amazing to watch Jake Sylvia and see how he can just wheel this car and just how talented he is, Justin.
And it's going to be interesting from there on out because we do have a few new drivers. William, got amongst those who looks to showcase what he can do when based out of Michigan. But there's also a big name from Speed Ranch. One of the drivers has experience working with drivers like Sylvia. Grant Brown is a driver to consider as a front runner today as one of its top short track builders for that respective group.
Grant Brown, we know that he is talented. That number 14, we are going to be watching him all night long. I expect him to qualify well here. And talking about qualifying, I'm really interested to see what these guys do. We talked about it, how this track and how this car is set up. These guys are on the throttle almost the entire time. So if you make the slightest error, Justin, your time is going to be in the trash and you will be at the back. And you don't want to be in those LCQs. We're going to have the top 5 in qualifying will automatically move on to the feature, but the rest will have to go to our LCQs. And now we're getting ready to see that qualifying.
So right now, as the drivers get themselves prepared and ready to go for the qualifying session, a couple drivers are in the midst of finishing up those practice groupings before we get the qualifying fully launched away. Again, for those who don't understand the qualifying system, it's based on the driver numbers working their way up, then looping back to the lowest number. As mentioned, Sylvia would be that first number on that list here today, which means once we get going here in about a few minutes time around from Bristol, that would loop drivers like Sean Urich to the top, followed by Waylon Robinson, then to Tyler Moore on down, or back to the 1 should say, and then up the list of drivers in regards to numbers lowest to highest. With that being considered here, it is worth saying that Sean Urich is that driver coming in as one of the top drivers in the standings in terms of today in limiting incidents. So we'll keep an eye on that as time progresses. Some drivers were in the 27 point for the bracket. As drivers were told before today and discussing with race administrators, the goal is to have the lowest number first in theory in terms of the points. The lowest number right now is Urich with 2.
See Urich leading our points here, and then Casey Beatty, that number 97, now following that up with 3 points, and he would be first because we saw last week he got the win at Slinger, but he actually incurred 2 points penalties, and that put Sean back into this lead for the Triple Crown. But a big story that I'm thinking about here, Justin, Bradley Stefane. Not going to be in the race today. He is in Michigan currently, traveling back to his home, but will not be able to make the race. He sits third in our points with 3 points as well, but he's not going to be here today, Justin.
So that takes one potential contender out of it, but in turn we have many more looking to see if they can contend here in a few moments' time. 17, check that, 16 entrants. Ready to go when qualifying gets the go-ahead. We are moments away, being told, from single car qualification. And here's, let's take a look at the vehicle analysis one more time here. As we get set to go racing, once again, the late model stock, 500 horsepower, that naturally aspirated 350 CI V8 motor in respect to those late model stocks here today. 4 gears total, rear wheel drive, front engine drive. And in turn, as talked about, the car's late model stock tour is the model for the iRacing comparison for the series, and in turn, the Rear World Series.
Well, the Cars Tour has their first race of the season today, Justin, at Southern National Motorsport Park. And I can tell you, right after we wrap this up today, I'm going to be watching that because I love this car. I love it in iRacing. I love it in real life. Like we talked about, this is that big stepping stone for drivers trying to make it in stock car racing in the real world. This car always produces just some amazing racing. So I'm excited to see it here at Bristol today. I'm excited to see it in real life at Southern National Motorsport Park after this.
So once again, let's look at your vehicle analysis for today's action as we get set to go racing with those respective cars here today. So that being said, your keys to a good qualifying lap when it comes to Bristol.
Look, again, they're on the pedal almost the whole time. So I think here, Justin, you want to ring the bottom since you can get great momentum on that top. And I think that's going to come into a huge factor during the race. But I think during qualifying, we're going to see all these guys on the bottom taking that shortest line. Since there's not a difference in getting out of the gas there, I think we're going to see guys ringing that bottom, trying to get as much speed as possible. But I think during the race, we're going to see guys up top, in the middle, on the bottom, trying all these different things to try to get around their opponents on the track. But qualifying, they're going to be ringing that bottom.
And when it comes to the format, the major thing to consider for the qualifying, top 5 go directly to the feature. Everybody else has to go through the heat races and or the LCQ. Not expecting the LCQ per se. We'll see how that gets shuffled once the sim advances through the sessions today. The last chance qualifier currently set to be about 20 laps here at Bristol. 21 cars expected to make the start. As mentioned, 16 starters mean very likely see at least a change to the car displayment or advancement in the next few moments or so. So, with 3 minutes to go until the qualifying session, who are you keeping your eye on the most here today?
Obviously, we talked about it. I'm thinking about that number 88 of Jake Sylvia. 6-time winner, regular season champion, finished well last week. He sits 5th in our Triple Crown points right now. But I'm also looking like guys like Deegan Smith, 3-time winner in the series this season. I'm also looking at what you talked about, the number 14 of Grant Brown. We know he is an extremely talented driver, and I'm going to be looking at him today. I'm also looking at Sean Urich and Casey Beattie. Casey Beattie, winner last week. Sean Urich finished second runner-up, and he is absolutely doing amazing. So those 5 guys, I'm very much looking at him. But right now, I got my eye on the 88 as he's getting ready to go.
Session turned over, and in turn, remember, Sylvia, the first up when it comes to qualifying order, then the 97, followed by the 133 in terms of those drivers. Your 97 car is Urich, then it's Robinson in the 133, then the page turns to the top of the number list with Moore, Calabro, Brown, Smith, Adams, Bush, Shell, Beattie, Gogan, Matt Urban, along with Jake Rout, along with Michael Wiseman, the last of those drivers. Just waiting for the word for when Sylvia gets clear to hit the racetrack. Jake Sylvia, known for being a real-world legend car team owner and driver, looking to take his late model stock onto the racetrack. Track is clear. Up on the board. We're underway for qualifying.
Well, he's going to have 2 laps here, and we're going to see what he's going to put down. He's revving it up, getting to that fourth gear, and he's going to lay on that pedal the entire time, wrapping the top here, getting ready to start his lap, carrying momentum, and we're going to see what he has right here into 1.
trying to use the very top of the racetrack, it looks like, to keep the speed high. Now, most drivers utilize for tire saving the bottom line. If you're looking for speed, we've seen the top utilized a lot. 14.9 to start, with a lot of rubber buildup carrying over from practice.
We'll see what he can lay down here. We see him now wrapping that bottom on this second lap, wrapping that apron to see what he can put down here for his second lap. Will he go faster? He will. A 14.416. A great lap from Jake Sylvia there.
That's faster than any driver from the practice session, basically, outside of maybe BD. So now on the racetrack, it looks like his Calibro has zipped onto the racetrack. Now, keep in mind, the reason that we're now going to see Calibro on the track is he should be in the 91 car, it's worth noting. In sim, he's the 12. So currently, the 91 is currently on the banking. You'll see in the backdrop, trying to set his first time.
Well, he'll wrap it down here into 1 and 2, wrapping that bottom just like we talked about, going up to the wall, off of the exit. This is a great lap by Calibro here. Love that paint scheme on his car, looking absolutely beautiful. Gets a little loose there out of the corner. See what he puts down here for his second lap. It'll be a 14.469, so just slightly slower there than Jake Sylvia. But if I'm Dylan Calibro, I'm happy about that lap, Justin.
That is a teammate to Sylvia on the setup side, by the way, so expect them to be comparable speed. Ulrich is now on the racetrack, though. The 97 car, you see him zipping by on the banking. He's bottoming out a lot in the backdrop already, though. By the way, for those curious, why is the sun facing the backstretch and not the front? In sim time, 7 a.m. today.
Well, I didn't even notice that, Justin. I was wondering the same thing. I've never seen the sun like that here at Bristol, and if I was one of these guys personally, I wouldn't be racing at 7 a.m. Luckily, it is 3 p.m. Central right now, 4 p.m. Eastern. Much better time to be racing. Sean Urich will put down a 14.472, just 3/1000 slower there than the 12 or 91 of Dylan Calibro. Sean Urich, our points leader, puts down a heater.
Waylon Robinson next on the circuit. He was one of the regulars we've seen really pick up the intensity the closing stage of the regular season. Looks to find a lot more intensity here today. A lot of bottoming out already on his lap. Looking to set his first flyer right here.
Lays down some rubber there, gets a little loose through 3 and 4 there, puts down his first lap, and we're going to see him go for a 15.081, just getting the tires warm there. We saw Waylon Robinson in our regular season, 2 top 10s, a great driver here in the 133. He'll be hoping for a faster lap here than his first one, and we'll put a 14.562 down, so 4th on the boards, and we'll see him crash into the water barriers.
I think that kind of states how he felt about the run. That is bottom of the pole. Tyler Muller now next on track. And after this car, drivers will start getting bumped here. So the one machine on circuit.
Tyler Muller got 1 win this past season. He would have had 2, but he had an EOL penalty at Phoenix Raceway. The win was given to Deegan Smith, but that number 1, second in our championship points from the regular season. An absolutely great driver will put down a 15.069 there for his first lap. Now he'll ring that bottom just like we've seen other drivers do, and we'll see what he can put down here as he goes across the line. Will it be faster than that 15-second? Yes, it'll be a 14.528, putting him 4th above that 133 of Waylon Robinson.
However, that's going to be a very tough time, to say the very least, to keep in the top 5. Next group, we see Grant Brown. Of note, he was the only driver who managed to be in a separate grouping of drivers for final practice. The driver who made the grouping, well, technically it was you, but Grant decided, you know what, I like to be on my own for the practice.
Yeah, I actually joined as a driver in this session today. I'm just broadcasting today, no driving here for Scott today. I'm just up here in the booth. Grant Brown puts down a 14.994, so a good lap there. Just, again, warming up the tires. We're seeing that from a lot of these guys. Their first lap, they'll ring that top, warming up the tires, just getting that, and then they'll run the bottom. As we'll see down on his second lap, he'll put down a 14.586, so not the best lap there from Grant Brown. Not exactly what I expected, but again, It's slower than we thought, but again, we know the talent of Grant Brown, and so I'm not worried for him.
Yeah, that is not what you expect from a driver known for good speed on the short tracks. Deacon Smith, he's now next on the racetrack. When it comes to the 15 machine, one of the younger drivers in the series. The 15 machine, during the practice session, did show some solid pace in the 14.3s. In fact, it was one of the quickest in the whole session.
Well, that 15 always has fire paint schemes, Justin. With Victory Fuel on board, that chrome bronze number 15, Deacon Smith's car, always looking really good. And you know what else is looking really good? His lap, a 14.433, puts him second, just below Jake Sylvia. So not only does he look good, his lap time looks good too.
Next up on the racetrack, one of the league admins. This is Kyle Adams, 24 machine. For Kyle Adams, he was in the 4s in final practice. If he was to repeat that time he'd be tied with Kelbro on circuit.
Kyle Adams, a strong driver, league owner. Again, I love talking about paint schemes. They're all awesome to see with a 15.086 there for that 24 of Kyle Adams. This one, he introduced it back in the middle of the regular season, and I saw it, and I was absolutely starstruck on how beautiful it is. I love me some beautiful burgundy red, and so put down a 14.555, putting Kyle Adams 6th on the charts.
And for Adams, he just speed his way around the track. I think he was also not sure which end was which with the sun, but Keegan Busch, he looks to take the Busch car around the circuit. Keegan Busch, 24 years old from Wisconsin. This season, plenty to race in real life in the Mid-Am Series and area sportsman class events.
Keegan Busch, we've seen him all season long. I know he is a great driver as well, sporting what is a very likely paint scheme. Busch supporting Busch there is he'll put down a 14.923, warming up his lap, that beautiful gray chrome number 27, and so ring the boards here on the bottom. Can he improve from his first lap? I imagine so. Keegan Busch, he'll put down a 14.649. He improves, but to no avail, putting him 9th and last on the charts.
And that puts him out for the time being. If that sticks, well, I should rather say he's absolutely out regardless. Now a BMW paint scheme. This is Jared Schell. He's 34 in terms of the number, and he's newly wrecking it.
Hey, guys, it's really loose there off the corner in 1 and 2. That will ruin his first lap here. But again, we talked about it. The first lap is usually a warm-up, so Jared Schell still has time to get a decent lap in. Still might have scrubbed off some speed there as we saw a 15.628, so 0.6 off of that warm-up lap that we've seen from most of our guys here. But sporting that 34 BMW paint scheme, can Jared Schell improve on his time after his big slip in lap 1 and 2? No, he will improve, but yet again, like Keegan Busch, to no avail, a 14.661.
Next up on the racetrack, keep an eye on last week's race winner. This is Casey Beatty. He's one of the drivers representing Dale Shaw, longtime racer, the Shaw family, also with representation across North America in this racing scene. In fact, a lot of them also work on the virtual side, especially in terms of the Shaw family.
Well, we'll see this 45 here in the blue and white machine. Casey Beatty, we saw him, like we talked about, get a win last week. This is a strong driver. We didn't see him much, if at all, in the regular season. He just kind of popped out of nowhere, but we know that Casey Beatty is a strong driver, and so put down a new lap, a heater of a lap, a 14.405, beating out Jake Sylvia on our provisional pole.
And Beatty putting down the standard already. Next up on the racetrack, though, is another driver who could be someone to keep an eye on. This is one of those representing Ryko's short track program, Alex Kogan. Now, interesting enough, the short track program for Ryko announced that they were going to reduce their presence for the upcoming season. However, they did also bring the bright side of Caleb Hall winning the overall championship in this type of car.
Well, you love to see it, and you love to see it out here with that 47 of Alex Cogan in that blue, bright blue Lowe's machine. I haven't seen a Lowe's car since the 48 of Jimmy Johnson, just one number off here, as we'll see Alex Cogan finishing out his second lap. He'll go for a 14.443, putting him fourth on the charts.
So the next driver in line to be skipped, Matt Urban, has pulled out from today's race, 15 entries as a result here. Next up, though, this is Jake Grout, another one of the RKM cars. Already we've seen some of the RKM machines, like Sylvia and a couple others, do well in qualifying. Grout building speed up top to start.
Well, Jake Grout, we saw him again during the regular season. He was strong. Sometimes he was in the back, but he would absolutely march through the field in a lot of the races. I got to watch him and listen to what he would do and watch that. Jake Grout now ringing the bottom in that 49. He'll put down a 15.033 for his first lap and a 14.445 for his second. That puts him in the top 5.
Two drivers left, William Legat and Michael Weisman. The bubble time of 14.444. Jake Grout on the bubble. Anyone below that goes straight to the heats. Top 5 advance. Can the 71 get the time?
William Legat in this yellow machine here. We'll see that Casey Beatty, Jake Sylvia, and Deegan Smith all now safe into the feature. Can William Legat break into that top 5? Let's see if he'll do it here. He puts down a 14.853 on his first lap. Now ringing that middle in this 71 car. He wants to be in that top 5. Does he have enough speed to do it here?
No.
No, he does not. He will be in our heat race.
14.6. And that leaves only a Pontiac Firebird. That's a very different looking Firebird compared to the actual Firebird. It's Michael Weisman looking to set a fire time. In final practice, he was able to run as high as the 14.3s.
Personally, I've never seen a Firebird that looks like this, but I do know about Michael Weisman. He is an on-fire driver. We saw him get 2 wins in this regular season. He was back in the 45 car there, but today he is in this 74. He'll put down a 14.975 for his first warm-up, quote-unquote, lap. Let's see if he can break into that top 5. This makes Alex Cogan safe into our top 5, but will Michael Weisman join them? He will. Michael Weisman goes fourth with a 14.433 and advances him to the feature.
And that bumps Jake Grout out of the top 5. Alex Cogan with a 14.442 holds on to the top 5. And the last driver, I think Brandon Davis, just realized you are the 81 car. Congratulations. You're the last driver in qualifying. Congratulations. You've been bumped from the show, Scott.
Oh, I wish I was driving tonight, but look, I enjoy broadcasting up here, Justin. I absolutely love it. Got to work on making sure I join as the broadcaster, but Brandon said 81, I'm up. But I'm actually not up. I'm up here in the booth. I got my wheel in front of me, though, so if Kyle Adams wanted me in, I'd be ready to go, Justin.
With that being said, congratulations, you're not in. You know what? Who else is going on, though? We can tell you the second heat is being skipped at the very minimum. 1 heat race for everybody else, but the top 7 advance. So we still have an LCQ of 20 laps. So now let's see how that grid looks here, because anybody 6th on back in the qualifying session is in this field. Jake Grout, 2 1,000ths out from a direct lock. Instead, he'll start alongside Dylan Calbro on the front row of this heat race. Sean Urich starts off in the second row. New Berlin, Wisconsin. That 97 car will start alongside Tyler Muller in the next row. Then, row 3 is Kyle Adams alongside Waylon Robinson. Row 4, Grant Brown looking to find a lot more of speed from the ranch alongside William Legat. Rounding out your top 10 starters, Keegan Bush and Jared Shell. And the rest of the drivers that are on the list are not here at the racetrack. So that leaves 10 starters looking to make 7 spots. No pressure.
No, these guys got it. It is going to be an absolute heater right here. These guys, 15 laps with these 10 cars, but I imagine we're going to be watching the mid-pack or the back here, Justin, fighting for that 7th position. trying to advance into this main feature race. Again, we saw Jake Grout, Dylan Calabro, Sean Urich, our points leader right now, all up in this top 3 here, starting at the top in our heat race. All we know, strong drivers, and they're going to be fighting hard to make sure they're in this feature.
That being said, just 15 laps. You know how fast 15 laps goes at Bristol?
Oh,
that's
my
about
gosh.
3 minutes. That's like 3-4 minutes.
We're gonna be done so fast. But that's the thing. These drivers have to know that as well, Justin. These laps are going to go down just like that. We saw in qualifying, all of our laps were in the 14-second range. The tire fall-off for this 15 laps won't be that heavy, and these guys are absolutely going to be like, where'd the time go? These guys that are trying to make it into that 7th position have to know, I've got to go now.
Or better yet, those above the 7th position say, I've got to not spin on cold tires in the next 5 seconds. As they come out of the pit lane, look to set things up. Who do you think's got the heat race win here to try and get 6th?
Oh, man. Man, I don't know. I love Jake Grout on the pole here. But again, we talked about it. Dylan Calabro put down a fast lap. And we know Sean Urich finished 2nd last week at Slinger, leading our points right now. I don't know if I could say one name, but I'm going to go with Jake Grout right now. But I think any of these guys could have it in our top 4.
Already seen a lot of tire heating here to make sure the rubber's good to go. One more lap here for the pace lap. Once again, 15 laps, top 7 advance per the iRacing sim details. Consolation, if utilized, would be 20 laps. One thing of note, we do have enough drivers in the list to where everybody at least races the 200-lap feature. How they'll be sorted, we'll see what comes of that. It's Jake Grout in control of the field for RKM. On the outside, it's Dylan Calabro, his teammate. Glad to have you with us. It's heat race time for the Misfit Touring Series. Triple Crown Showdown. It's middle round. It's time to go racing, heat racing style from Bristol.
Jake Grout gets an excellent restart, gets ahead there of the 91 of Dylan Calabro. Sean Urich now on his inside will take 2nd position away from Dylan. Will Dylan try to march it down on the bottom? No, he won't. 97 holds the position of 2nd. Jake Grout with a comfortable lead.
And already looking to set sail, all wow, Calabro's 91 machine, feeling some pressure. That's Kyle Adams right behind, Tyler Moore as well. At the back, some cars need to get a move on. There's a little wiggle on. Hard contact. Look, going to the wall. Jared Shell collecting him. Those two with significant damage, no caution.
We stay green, Justin. That was the fight for our position. William Legatt gets massive damage. He is slow all the way in the back of our field.
Trouble.
Caution.
Grant Brown just turned Waylon Robinson out of turn 4. And we're under caution.
Oh my, I did not expect this all to happen within the first 4 laps, Justin. Golly, we're going to have to go back and figure out what happened. Grant Brown is not happy on that radio right now. We're going to have to go back and figure out what happened.
So, multiple incidents. Remember, 15 laps, 45 minutes, whatever comes first. And already, looks like Grant Brown trying to sort out, where am I supposed to be here? He is one of the last on the lead lap. Legatt already to the pit lane along with Robinson.
Legatt had huge damage. He was in that first incident that didn't bring out our caution. Him, Jared Shell, and Keegan Bush got 3 wide. Jared Shell was in the middle, got loose, got into the 71 of William Legatt, and put the 71 in the wall. Then we saw just a lap later, we saw Grant Brown get into one of our guys in the back. Not sure who it was. Grout gets an EOL. I'm not sure. Grout gets an EOL.
Did he go early? Incident. I don't think it's the incident. Remember, it was just discussed. Drivers were told that it's green flag for the initial start. Restart zone for the other starts. Guess who went in restart zone instead of green?
Wow. Oh my goodness. Well, we're going to figure out what happened here, but the 49 huge story will now be all the way in the back because he jumped that start, Justin. That is an absolute deficit there for Jake Grout, who had an absolutely amazing jump on the lead. But I guess that's why he had a good jump. This is what happened to bring out our caution.
Well,
Well,
what's taking our swing at that once again here? That's just Grant Brown trying to catch with a lap. Happened, remember, but a lap and a half previous. So you see that little battle with the backdrop. It's these two that really bring out the caution. Watch turn 3 and 4 racing. It's Nicole. My goodness, that was a chop of the nose in first.
Wow. I can't believe that didn't happen sooner. We saw right there, we saw the 14 just get into the back of Waylon Robinson. I'm not sure if the 14 was upset with him and turned him on purpose. I'm not sure exactly what it looked like, but it looked like those cars were slowing down. So I do wonder if the caution had come out just before that or if it was for them. But was that a little bit of a frustration from the 14 of Grant Brown?
Well, we can tell you this, Waylon Robinson out of the race. That's going to mean, well, should say he just fixed the meatball flag now. With the faster pair, he is off the lead lap, though. Kyle Adams is the leader, though. Sean Eric alongside. Then it's Calabro and Moore, Bush and Shell, Brown. Then Grout is the last of the lead lap as we come to the restart. Halfway through the heat race here. Green, green, green. Back it away.
I think Urich got a correct start there. Didn't make the same mistake that Jake Grout did. We'll see the 91 of Calabro take second position here. That 24 will hold third. We're going to see the top 4 are single filed out, but we got battles in the back. Keegan Bush on the outside of Grant Brown.
So as they sort together here already, that pull away by Urich. Backing up the speed, seeing the last time out. All of that's well. Kyle Adams is loose. Big send from the inside. That's the one of Tyler Moore wanting track position.
Calabro got loose there. Now the one on the inside of Calabro. They're about to be 3 wide. They're 2 wide, 2 rows back. The one trying to take away second position here from the 91. Grant Brown wants to come back and regain his track position too. These guys are under a blanket here, Justin.
2 by 2, under 5 laps to go. Coming to 3 to go at the stripe, in fact. The battle for the bubble could get interesting. Grout has not picked up that spot either. He's in the 2 by 2 in the backdrop. All that's well. Moore's able to clear. Grant Brown looking for the 4th spot. Big bobble. Keegan Bush in the wall. That moves him out of the transfer. Jake Grout now looking for a chance to get around Jared Shell to try and get the top 7 with 2 to go.
That might have been the mistake that takes Keegan Bush out of this race today. Jake Grout now in the transfer position, makes contact with Jared Shell, but takes 6th position. He wants some more safety as we're going to have 1 lap to go here. Jared Shell now in our coveted 7th position, but the 71, 1 lap down, won't have that position. This looks like how it's going to be.
One more set of corners for your race leader, Sean Urich in the 97 machine, taking the checker flag, all while the battle for position on screen. Grant Brown holds on to a top 3. Tyler Moore 2nd, Kyle Adams 4th, and it's Calabro your top 5. Grout and Shell, direct advancement, and as to be expected, we do skip the LCQ. Now here's the next thing to note. Guess who has an invert going on? Yes. Your drivers amongst those locked in on qualifying time, already coming to the grid, just got the invert. Today's invert number, the number 4. That means your pole sitter for feature time, coming up in just about a few seconds, will be your 4th best qualifier. Michael Smith starts alongside Deegan Smith on the front row. Then Jake Sylvia and Kate C. Beatty will be your top 4 starters for your feature. Alex Kogan be amongst the next row back as we flip over towards row number 3. That will be alongside Sean Urich in this race today. Then, amongst those also looking to start in the top 10, Tyler Moore in the 1 machine, Grant Brown in the 14 car. Rounding your top 10, Kyle Adams alongside Dylan Calabro.
Well, Jake Grout just barely survived the heat race, but he'll start 11th in our feature alongside the 34 of Jared Shell. Keegan Bush, William Legatt, and Waylon Robinson will all transfer because we did not have enough cars for LCQ. They will all make it into the feature, so very much a relief for the 27 of Keegan Bush, William Legatt, and Waylon Robinson all making it to the feature as well.
So again, that's the discussion when it comes to your starting lineup here today. Drivers are on the racetrack right now, Scott. It's worth noting your keys to win the 200-lap feature.
Look, this is a long race. We've got 200 laps. We saw how crazy this track can get, but these guys have to settle in. They know that this is going to be a long race. They have to keep it clean. There are no fast repairs in this series. You cannot repair. So if you get wrecked, you might be done for. You have to take care of your car. You got to take care of your tires. You got to be careful. These guys know that it's long, and they got to be there at the end, Justin.
Tempers are flaring, and we haven't even hit the green flag yet. All the drivers are ready to go feature racing, though, for the Triple Crown Showdown. In control, it's Wiseman on the pole. It's Deegan Smith to the outside. We're glad to have you with us from iRacing's virtual Bristol here on podium. Green, green, green. We're racing for the West Creek Coliseum.
Michael Weissman doesn't get a great start. Didn't want to make a mistake like Jake Grout did, but that will give Deegan Smith your lead. The 74 takes second position. The 45 of Casey Beatty takes third with Jake Sylvia in fourth. Caution already on the speedway.
Our first yellow and already hard contact, Jared Shell. It's not been a pretty time for the 34. Significant damage in the heat/LCQ. Even bigger damage this time.
Well, very upsetting there for Jared Shell, but just what I talked about. These guys have to know it's a long race. We're going to figure out what happened back here to Jared Shell. But again, this has got to be frustrating. We just completed only 2 laps, and the 34 is already in the pits. This, again, the good news for the 34 here, Justin, is that it is a long race. If he can get this repaired, he might be able, if we get some more cautions, he might be able to get back on the lead lap after repair and be able to come back through the field. So, bad news is he's wrecked. Good news is he's got time.
Well, interesting to note, he has taken the fast repair. The session does have 2.
Excuse me, that was my mistake.
So there is some leeway for the repair side.
Good.
However, you can only go so far when you already use your fast repair on lap 1.
Well, we'll see right there that the 34 just wasn't clear. Jake Grout had the space on the bottom. Jared Shell didn't know it, tried to close that hole, but the 49 was there, turned him right around, and then he slides up into the outside, slamming Keegan Bush into the wall. So I wouldn't be surprised to see if Keegan Bush uses one of his fast repairs as well. Glad you corrected me on that, Justin.
So with that being said, Deegan Smith now is your race leader with all this. Fast repairs are already utilized by Bush and by Shell. It's interesting to note there that, first of all, you have Beatty saying hello to your new race leader. But second, Michael Weisman, who was in control of the field, his comment on being the control car for the initial start was, "I'm scared, LOL." Well, he's no longer the control car, so there's that.
I've got to say, I would rather be the control car than be that guy on the outside. It is so difficult, Justin, to judge the jump, and you can start losing 1 or 2 positions. So I would rather be that guy that controls the start because I know when I'm going to go. I don't have to judge it based off anybody else, but I think he's scared because we saw what happened to Jake Grout. We saw the penalty you can get. You can go immediately to the back no matter where you are in this field. So that fear for that number 74 of Michael Weissman is absolutely valid.
17-year-old Deegan Smith in control of the field this time. Pace truck expected to go off the circuit this time by. Remember, it's restart zone from here on out. Green, green, green. Back underway. They wait to the end of the green, and a gear shift issue for the 45. Beatty nearly stacks up the bottom line. Everyone else keeps it clean.
Casey Beatty misses one of his shifts, and that gives Alex Cogan the position on the outside, but the 45 is not quite done. He'll get loose there on the bottom. That will give the 47 the position. There's contact. Jake Sylvia wiggles around from the contact with Alex Cogan. They hold it all together. Still trying to move up into third is Alex Cogan.
And how about that run? Cogan saying, you know what? No one else is running topside. Who needs tires saving when I can just pass everybody? Now he's already to second and looking fast for the lead, nearly spins it down the back.
Golly, he is absolutely ringing it there on the outside, going for the lead here around the outside of Deegan Smith. He'll have it. New leader, Alex Kogan in that 47. Tyler Mueller will follow now on the outside. He'll take second position. Deegan Smith falling to third on the bottom. Now that 97 of Sean Urich is trying the same thing.
And that top line has a lot of momentum corner racing. Might not be the best later on for those right front tires, but it is for some to be able to say, I want track position. Let's go 3 wide. Robinson says, underneath Smith on the apron. And now Smith says, where am I supposed to go? There's the contact. They're saving it.
Deegan Smith keeps it. I don't know how he kept it from spinning there. Waylon Robinson shoved it in on the inside. Deegan Smith was able to keep it, but then that gives everyone else able to crawl away. Deegan Smith falling through this field, now down to 6, Justin.
Battle for the race lead. You know who's looking for that race lead already on lap 12? Tyler Mowers, one car. You see on the interval within a 10th. He's right now amongst those. If we can go towards the front, who's on the outside, side by side for the race lead. He's looking for the run. Kogan forced off the top. Urich saying, you know what? This line seems to be working now. I'm going to do it too.
That number 1 just got into the wall, but he will take the lead around the outside of Alex Kogan. But I think you're right, Justin, in talking about that outside line may be really fast, as we'll see Sean Urich now going into second around that 47 of Alex Kogan. While that top line is fast, it may be wearing out these guys' tires. So, you got to think about these guys on the bottom. Deegan Smith back in 6th still ringing that bottom. Fights throughout the field. We got Waylon Robinson trying to get around Alex Kogan now, who's using up more tire.
And Robinson, we've already seen a couple times today, has said, if I get to your inside, I don't care if I'm on the apron, I'm making the pass. If I'm to your outside, I don't care if you're on the apron, I'm making the pass. He's not been making too many friends going from 15th to 4th, but it's sure been interesting to watch.
Well, Waylon Robinson better be careful about that apron, though, because that is one of our penalties. I think it might be okay that he might have gotten one of his tires down there, diving it down on the inside, but I think you don't want to stretch that rule because, again, we'll see an EOL penalty. You'll see points that take you farther away from winning the Triple Crown Showdown. So, while that is an aggressive move there from the 133, I think he should be careful.
He is now inside the top 3 and already looking for second, by the way. Right now, the fall off already for a couple drivers up to a couple tenths. Robinson is setting some of his personal best lap times already, 20 laps in, already to the inside for second. Now he's looking for the lead.
Waylon Robinson is abusing that right rear, looking to the inside of Sean Urich here, looking for second. Man, he is absolutely laying that rubber down on the inside. He'll take second away here, but the 97 has momentum on the outside. What will the 133 do? The 1 gets loose on the outside of him. That will give the 133 of Waylon Robinson the lead.
For the first time today, the 133 gets to the point. Now how long does he get to keep it as this run progresses? We'll have to keep an eye on that, as the top 4 have checked out by at least more than a second and a half to Kogan. Then it's another 2 seconds from Kogan to the whole rest of the field, by the way.
Well, this is going to play into our race here, Justin. We are just 22 laps in, and I'm really wondering, what is the tire play here? Who is saving more? What's the right amount to be using here? We see the top 4 have broken away, absolutely running away with it. Alex Kogan sitting in the middle, and then the rest of the pack almost 3 seconds back to our lead 4 here. I'm wondering who has the right strategy.
Right now amongst those running inside the 7th position, keeping calm, cool, and collected at least, Jake Sylvia. Staying in a line, working with his teammates. You have Calbro in front. You have KCBD right behind. One of the JGR schemes. So far, just pacing themselves, it looks like, more than trying to abuse the tires.
And I think that might be, personally, if I'm a driver, I like that. I see Jake Sylvia back here. I like being where Jake Sylvia is. Again, we talk about how much he's won. We talk about what a good driver he is. Whatever he's doing, I honestly favor that more than anyone else, and I'm going to base myself off of that. The 88 in 7th snags the wall there a little bit, but saving tire on this bottom lane.
From a front straightaway, Waylon Robinson for the race lead has spun it into the wall. No caution, we stay green.
I would be surprised if we don't get a caution here. Waylon Robinson now down on the apron, spins out from the lead. Absolute tragedy. We're still green here as he shoves it into the inside wall here, trying to turn around without getting up in anybody's way. He'll get it going straight and he'll continue on. Waylon Robinson falls from first all the way to 14th. We're still caution free as he's going to think about coming down to pit road.
And because it was on the apron, race control, with it being a single car incident, has said no caution. What a heartbreak. From race lead to essentially dead last.
Wow, just a big mistake as a driver. That's something you can't have happen. You're out in the lead, you've got good track position, you're feeling good, and now you're all the way in the back, about to be 3 laps down. Again, we talked about how short, how fast this racetrack is, and we've got a double pit road here. So you have to go almost the entire way around pit road, and that eats away your laps, as we'll see Waylon Robinson already 3 laps down, about to be 4.
Oh, that's wow. On screen, Sylvia trying to play a bit of defense. That moment there started the aggression panel a little bit. Looks like Beatty amongst those hard squeeze. Nearly ran over Sylvia trying to get the squeeze down on Brown.
They're fighting hard here in the middle of the pack. Casey Beatty on that outside, using that momentum that we talked about. He'll get around the 88 of Jake Sylvia. Now after that 91 of Dylan Calabro. On the apron a little bit, gets a little loose. Grant Brown back here though, looking for that. The 45 goes up under that 91, makes the pass look easy.
And here's how wild this race has gone so far. First of all, this entire pack was running up to a second slower a lap before Robinson's spin. They've now kicked it up by a full second a lap on average pace. However, your leaders, because of that, have already gone into just about positions to, in fact, nearly lap your leaders. Weisman, Urich, Muller already are within about a quarter of the track to this pack of cars. That's how quick that these drivers have been trying to save. Their leaders are essentially those gaggled up and about to catch the back of the pack.
Well, we know these guys can go very far on a fuel stint here. So again, the big name is tires. Personally, I want to save. I want to be like those guys like Jake Sylvia, like Casey Beatty in the back, saving tire, but I don't want to go a lap down, because the minute you go a lap down, it is so difficult to get that back, especially if you're in a pack. If these guys get a lap down in the pack, it takes you forever to get that back. So personally, I want to be saving, but I don't want to go a lap down, Justin.
As you say that, right now Weisman is setting 15 flats. He's within 3/100ths of his personal best of the race. Summit's working on the save. Others saying, what are tires? Those things that never wear forever? I mean, if it's a Lego tire,
then you're correct. If these were Lego tires, oh my gosh, Michael Weisman would be absolutely flying in the way he is, and he would have no problems staying in the lead this entire race as he puts Keegan Bush, our first car, a lap down out on the speedway. Waylon Robinson 5 laps down. We saw Jared Shell earlier have an incident. He's 1 lap down, but Keegan Bush, our first guy to go a lap down out on track. Michael Weisman sets his sights on William Littagott to put him a lap down.
They also do have Jared Shell in front, by the way. That is already a driver 1 lap down to fall, 2 down already. Shell making sure to race a little bit here. So it's not quite so simple, it looks like, as you're the leader, ole. Everybody is saying, talking a bit over on the radio, it looks like they plan to race him.
Look, if I'm one of these guys in this big pack here, I am blocking. It is not going to be easy for the 74 of Weisman to get through this pack, to get through these guys, because again, like I talked about, these guys are saving, but if they go a lap down, that absolutely kills their strategy. So they're going to be blocking, trying to keep this 74 behind, as we'll see the 74 now on the outside of Jared Shell, going to put him 2 laps down.
Now trying the outside, there it is right there to be able to get the lap down on him. Next in line is Wagat in the one-stop speed shop car. Looks like Legat at the very least is keeping an eye on the rear view mirror if he's giving that space like he is on the straightaway. Everybody else is trying to run their own business here because it's all the way up to 7th in this pack, by the way.
I have never seen anything like this, Justin. He's about to lap the number 12 car. He's almost a full lap around most of the field. We'll see Sean Urich is 7/10 behind, Tyler Mueller then 6 seconds behind. So Michael Weissman and Sean Urich absolutely flying out here. I'm not sure where this is going to go, as we'll see him now finally on the outside of that 71. It looks like a Love's car, but I can assure you it's not. That 71 of William Legat, but wow.
You talk about a change of fortunes as Legat is amongst those lap down. You know, it's crazy to me how Weissman, we talked about during the caution how he was scared to be the control car. It's funny how he's gone from basically scared to be the control car to lapping most of the field in about 20 minutes. How time can change things.
Well, when he said he was scared, the guy that was actually starting the race, he just put a lap down in that 15 of Deegan Smith. So that was the guy who actually started on the inside. 74 of Michael Weissman got to start on the outside. I think that confidence of starting in the second position gave him this. But you're right, Justin. Absolutely wow. Going from I'm scared to putting half the field now a lap down.
Close moments there. Deegan Smith near contact with William Legat. Urich is also trying to get through. Shell nearly goes up to the wall. And keep in mind, the more Sean Urich has to race some of these cars down, the more time he loses. That side-by-side for a moment cost him 3/4 alone.
Michael Weissman still now running a 15.169. So his tires have not fallen off as much as I've thought personally, but man.
Oh, hold on, lap car putting Urich up into the wall. That was Jared Shell, 2 laps down, getting loose and pushing the Owen Blue machine into the fence.
That'll lose Sean Urich there almost a second. I can absolutely assure you he is extremely frustrated there with the 34 of Jared Shell. Jared Shell 2 laps down, Sean Urich in second, trying to go around. There's absolutely no reason the 34 should truly be giving him a hard time. But, woo! I gotta have some fumes coming out the ears of Sean Urich.
Race control warning this time given to the 34. I wonder why. Now, as that, in all seriousness, goes on in the midst of all things, it's worth noting that Kogan, we've seen him pushing so hard to get up to the lead, past everybody to the high side. He's been caught for 6. In front of them already are these two, Beatty and Brown. And they are starting to also turn the wick up, 12 seconds behind the leader, but they are matching Weissman on pace.
Tyler Mueller, one of the guys, we saw him earlier just over 6 seconds back. Now he is just under 5 seconds back. So he is gaining a little bit on Sean Urich and Michael Weissman, but he's 5 seconds back from Sean Urich, and Sean Urich 2 seconds back from Michael Weissman. So your 3rd place car and 4th place car are 7 and 11 seconds back.
That fall off is starting to become prevalent, though. Now drivers are falling off more consistently to that 2-3 of a second a lap. You know the crazy thing? Can these cars go 200 laps if it goes green?
You know, personally, I'm not sure. I don't know the fuel count on these guys, but I do know that they can go a very, very long way. At least 125 laps, if not more. So, they could go all the way, but I cannot imagine these guys do not pit at some point for new tires in this race, if it be splitting it in half. If we get a caution, I'm just not sure. But golly, if they could, this will be even more interesting, Justin.
Even race control, we just asked them, can they go 200 laps if it stays green? Not sure is the answer as well. So we're going to find out. Have you ever seen green flag pit stops in a late model stock? It's going to get very interesting if we get to within 40 laps to go from what we're being told, if it comes down to green flag stops to win the race. Weissman, by the way, he's starting to actually fall off to the point where some of the lap cars are wanting some time back and are starting to queue up behind him.
Jake Grout was able to unlap himself. Now that 71 of William Legat just behind the 74 of Weissman, trying to get around him to get his lap back. But if these cars can't go all the way on fuel, which it would be amazing if they could, but I have a hesitation to believe that they can. I imagine we'll see, if we stay caution free, we'll see some of these guys split the race in half, pitting at lap 100 as we're about to come up, completing lap 70.
Just received confirmation, 162 the max per race series testing. That forwarded on with one of the drivers that works with the league. 155 the minimum. So basically 155 if you run the top, 162 if you run the bottom. That's definitely not 100. That's not 200 is what we're saying here. So keep that in mind for the second half of the race. All of that's while Weissman's gap is going a little bit down. Not rapidly to Urich. He's just having some of the drivers in the back start to become faster on him.
Well, we've seen now Sean Urich has fallen back away. He was the one car that was trying to keep up with Weissman running this extremely fast time. He's now 5 seconds back, but we've seen Tyler Mueller close in from 5 seconds on Sean Urich, now just under 1.5 seconds. So we're now starting to see, Justin, these guys who have been saving tire are now able to be faster than these guys up front, and this is about to cause some of those guys to be able to have their tire strategy pay off.
Urich right now is currently losing time. He was once those pushing. In fact, he's nearly slamming the walls down. And I think Urich's saying, you know what, I've lost the tire. He's spinning the car out. On the apron, a sill spin off the apron. No caution, we stay green.
We'll stay caution-free, but I think after that spin, I think the 97 decided, hey, I need new tires. We saw him jut down onto the apron so fast that he spun himself out. But he wants some new tires. He wants some fresh rubber because that 97 knows his car is worn out. Is that an unsafe pit entry? Was it too fast? I'm not sure, Justin.
So they did wave the black flag. That's good news for the 97 since it is green flag run. The bad news is this puts him basically in the fuel window. He'll have to go the longest out of anybody if it stays green the rest of the way when it comes to the tires. That gap, one of the drivers who's trimming it down is the 45 of Beatty. Now getting to Beatty, 10 seconds back, now under 9, under 10. It's up to a couple and hundreds quicker per lap, if not a tenth quicker in some cases.
Sean Urich goes from second all the way down into 12th, now 2 laps down. So what a fall from grace for the 97 of Sean Urich.
Race control essentially has clarified here that if you enter through the pit lane under green, they will waive that. It's under caution that you have to take the one pit lane here. So there's that bright side. It's still a pit stop delta of about 31 seconds on a scheduled pit stop. That being said here, the 15-24 amongst those battling the racetrack being told, that's Deegan Smith and Kyle Adams. And look, William Legat has turned into a fight for 3 cars now.
The 24 just got by the 15 on the outside. The 71, tried to follow suit. He'll get around both of them. William Legat up into 8th. Will take that position away from the both of them.
And as that shuffles through, and as the send comes in for the inside from Smith, already quickly approaching the halfway mark. There is a little asterisk to say in terms of, has everyone tried to stretch it? Is everyone going to be in a tough spot here? Who's in the most tough spots? Da-da-da-da. Jake Grout, amongst those who's also picking up pace, did top off after that incident in the opening stages of the race.
Well, that might mean that he will be able to make it on fuel for the rest of this race. So that may mean that his next pit stop will be able to be shorter. But again, right now, Justin, I'm wondering when these guys are going to pit. We're just about to complete lap number 85 of this race, coming up on halfway in 15 laps here. I'm just wondering when these guys are going to start pitting. Michael Weissman now running a 15.529, almost 5/10 of fall off from 30 laps ago. So I'm wondering when these guys are going to truly need fresh rubber.
And with Wiseman losing ground to Beatty, the long run for this race could be very fun. Pit stops, Waylon Robinson in for not scheduled service. He's out of the car. Also in, Grant Brown is scheduled for a pit stop. So the green flag stops for some are open. Brown had been running pretty solidly in that main grouping most of the first run.
Well, I guess the answer to my question is now. Some of these are deciding that they finally need new tires. That 14 of Grant Brown in for some fresh ones. And I wonder if this will call the rest of the field. We know now that Grant Brown is going to be absolutely flying out on this track. Will that force other drivers to pit as well?
It's worth noting, I just double-checked this on the Delta. I'm going to ask you straightforward, Scott. If you're taking 2 tires after 80 laps, what does that say to your left side tire wear?
That there would be almost none or not enough to truly matter, Justin.
So in our words, what you're saying is faster to take 2, correct?
I would say so, yes, Justin.
Kyle Adams in for scheduled service as well. So we'll see if the 2-tire stop brigade continues. Keep in mind, if it's 13 seconds aside, we're looking at more than 20, 25 seconds if anyone elects to take left sides at all. There it is. Up on the jacks, off and away. Get the fuel. Good to go the rest of the way on gas.
2 right side tires. A great call, Justin. Excellent observation. That tells me just like what you thought. The left side tires are...
Oh, no!
Gets loose, the 24 coming off of pit road, holds it together, able to keep it together. The 74 just contact the wall, but the 24 almost spun coming off of pit road. Those tires were not warm enough.
How about that? He nearly spun it into the barrier and then back on the racetrack. We stay green with a massive save. Also in the lane this time, Alex Kogan, Michael Wiseman's coming in this time too.
Well, your leader now, his last time was a 15.9, so almost a second of fall off from the large portion of this race, around 50 laps. So your leader of number 74, Michael Wiseman, finally in. But I've got to say, that number 24, that might have been the save of the race. He almost smashed right into that water barrier, and that would have killed his car. While yes, he would have had the fast repair, he'd have been done for.
Pit party time also in this time. Beatty, Grout again, Smith, Wiseman. It looks like parking it now is Kellebro, so he's now out of the race. That leaves us with about 12 cars running, with Robinson also parking it.
I've got to imagine there that maybe Calabro had some internet issues because he was on the lead lap with our lead pack. So not sure what happened to him there. We'll figure that out as we go on. But Michael Wiseman now cycles out to 6th, 1 lap down. Jake Sylvia assumes your lead.
Jake Sylvia left to pit. He's the only driver yet to pit with William Lagat in the stall. The 88 car is Jake Sylvia. So he's the only one not coming in after only 80 to 90 laps, it looks like. And it looks like he's not going to change that for the time being. Fresh tires behind him.
Well, we saw Jake Sylvia is running a 15.4, and we saw before Michael Wiseman pitted, he was running a 15.9. So on average, the 88 of Jake Sylvia was able to save 5/10 worth of tire out on the racetrack, and that might be why he's able to go a lot longer than these guys, because he's able to save much more.
By the way, William Lagat was the only driver in the entire field to take left side tires. Their pit stop time, 21 seconds. Or should I say, Kogan you could throw in the mix too, but he's 24 seconds from that box. He's 3 laps down. He will be down a lap by the time this pit cycle cycles through. Just past halfway, Jake Sylvia, your leader. Everyone at fresh tires running up to a couple tenths a lap quicker. Contact.
Well, I've got to wonder right now, how long is Jake Sylvia planning on staying out here? As we'll see him on the inside of the 1. Jake Sylvia's got every single car in this field more than a lap down. The top 5 are the only people only 1 lap down. But I'm wondering how long he's going to stay out here, Justin.
And that might be a play in of itself, because if you're out here, everyone else is pinned, well, it's going to make it very difficult the rest of the way. We just received a note. Car 45, Casey Beatty, apparently has a speeding penalty to serve. And Beatty has not served it yet, if I understand correctly.
He'll have to serve it soon. He'll have to do a drive-through. The race control will give him a black flag. He'll have to drive through the pits at the proper speed to be able to clear that. He better do it soon or else he'll be disqualified. So he's had those black flags cleared. I imagine he has now served it, and he is good to go.
Now, again, to clarify, drivers are told that they will clear the pit entry penalty. If you speed into the pit lane, that's not clearable. In the case of Beatty, they cleared the entry penalty, but told him stay in the box for the speeding portion. And that's where Beatty had to come back down, take a drive-through penalty, and that's put him a lap down to the field.
Well, again, Jake Sylvia holding everyone there a lap down. Good that the 45 went ahead and served it. Again, we've got just under 90 laps to go in this race. There is still time, but man, I never imagined that this race would look anything like this, Justin. What about you?
I don't think I've really seen a race like this where green flag pit stops become mandatory like this in a late model stock.
No.
In stock cars, absolutely. It's been a long time since, I think only one other time I've seen a race like this, and that was like 3-4 years ago.
It's not often that we see cars like this doing green flag pit stops. We know in the real world, these cars are in a bit shorter tracks. Tracks that are a bit different, but again, these cars able to run so long here. These guys are driving as cleanly as possible, and we saw an odd rarity of green flag pit stops in the late model stock. But absolutely, wow, these guys are putting on a show.
Here's an interesting thing to keep it on. You meant see on that podium, or rather on that pylon here on podium, the 97. He did cycle with that few lap undercut in being the first to pit, by the way, in front of Weisman. That's a lot of that's 5 seconds he picked up on the 74, if you're talking about that.
Well, I didn't even notice that, but absolutely, he jumped the 74. Now the 74 on his inside, trying to take that position back. They'll battle for it. 74 on the inside. Michael Weisman trying to take that back, that 5-second lead he got. But wow, what a battle.
There is the battle right there on screen now. Eric trying to run very top line. A little bit dicey. Weisman trying to make the bottom work. Use the tire save line for the pass attempt.
Sean Urich will hold it here on the top from Michael Weisman, but Weisman powerful on that bottom. I wonder if Michael Weisman has changed up his thoughts as now he is running, well, I say he's running on the top now, but he was running that bottom there for a little bit. I wonder if he's learned his lesson from what he did earlier.
82 laps to go. And everyone's basically down to the bottom of the racetrack here. We've seen how big running the top was short term to be able to make some passes, then get back to the bottom from there on out. Give credit for the world's fastest half mile. It's been one of the cleanest races you may ever see at Bristol.
I have never seen anything like this at Bristol. We saw one caution in the beginning of this race, and after that we have seen green the entirety of the time. But what a race from these guys. Again, I'm looking here at Jake Sylvia. He is still out on track, holding everybody a lap down. He's been running for 122 laps on these tires. Is he gonna pit, Justin?
You'd think he has to eventually, especially since the numbers already say he would not make it. One driver is sliding on the apron. We stay green. The driver that just spun on the apron, Alex Kogan. So the 47 has towed and parked it.
Well, Alex Kogan was doing great during this race, but now he is out along with Dylan Calabro and Keegan Bush. So we'll have 12 cars left in this race. Waylon Robinson now 46 laps down. Rest of our field range from the lead lap to Jake Sylvia to 3 laps down to 34 of Jared Shell.
Well, technically, Robinson's not in the race car, hence why technically you could put him on the list. But
True.
Jared Shell wants to find a way at least get to 2 laps down here. He's been basically 3 down, interestingly enough, for most of the race. He could change that if he's able to find a way to make a pass here.
Well, while we were talking about Jared Shell there, trying to get one of his 3 laps back on the bottom of Jake Sylvia here, he won't be able to do it. The 74 of Weissman was able to get around Urich for second position. Weissman holds second now behind Sylvia.
And right now, they're about a lap and a third behind. Keep in mind, those drivers who pit, still 15 flats. Sylvia's running half a second a lap slower. If this stays green, strong chance Sylvia does not cycle to the lead. It'd be down to these 2.
It would be. Now we'll see that we're coming up on lap 130, and from our predicted fuel range, that gives Jake Sylvia 30 laps before he will be out of fuel. So I'm wondering, he's been out for about 40 laps after all the rest of these guys pitted. When's he going to come in? It has to be before these next 30 laps.
Has to, especially since if he doesn't come down to pit, he might get a love tap from the 11th place car. Now keep in mind, Grant Brown and Kyle Adams, they are 2 laps down. They also want to go.
Those guys,
drivers have already, race control just warned the whole field, yield to the leaders, do not wreck the leader as a lap car.
Well, and that's one big thing. You got to be careful as a lap car. If you wreck that leader, your race is going to be over. So while, yes, you do want your lap back, you have got to be careful.
I think that's the reason why it's so close, bumper to bumper.
I've got to say, Jared Shell is probably on the edge of his race seat right now, just trying to be careful with the 88 of Jake Sylvia here. As we'll see, I love this shot. Absolutely awesome. Trying to get around him on his back bumper. He'll take the outside here, trying to create some momentum, but he just can't quite get around him. They're running extremely similar lap times. Again, Jake Sylvia still running a 15.5. So, still running a fast lap from saving all that tire.
One of the most stunning races you'll see here for super late models or for late model stocks. Michael Weissman, second place. He is also in the train. There goes the 34 into the wall. And they have now told Jared Shell move out of the way of these drivers in line. And now he's being told hold the line. He's going off the track.
Well, Jared Shell was just moving all around, trying to create something, and race control didn't like that. It was causing too much chaos behind. Race control saw that probably could have caused a big incident, as we'll see Grant Brown now trying to get one of his laps back just on the bumper of the 88. Gets him loose. Almost around goes Jake Sylvia.
These 2 have worked together in the past, and now Grant Brown wanting to move Jake Sylvia out of the way. Again, Grant Brown 2 laps down saying, "Olé, I'm on fresher tires." Weissman boxed in. That allows the 97 to close. Jake Sylvia pitting this time. He wants to get to the bottom. Sylvia's pitting.
Weissman gives him a big shove there into turn 2. Wanted to get by him as well. That told Sylvia, all right, it's officially time to pit. He ran 140 laps on those tires, but he finally had to give it up.
So that puts the pressure now on one Michael Weissman. That cycles the 74 to the lead officially. Urich also in contention. Couple seconds back though. You know who's picked up a ton of time in all this with the traffic? Jake Grout. He's 2 seconds back of the leader. That's the closest anybody outside of the 97's been in more than 100 laps.
Well, it's going to be a battle here, probably between our top 3, Michael Weissman, Sean Urich, and Jake Grout. Besides that, Deegan Smith is almost 9 seconds back from that third place car. So Sean Urich now just over half a second back from that 74.
So the reset coming towards 50 laps to go. Second leg of the Triple Crown showdown here for Misfit Racing Leagues. It's been an interesting one from Bristol. One caution in the first couple laps. We've had green flag pit stops for the entire field now coming to play. Wiseman trying to hold off Urich. Right now it's a 1 second gap. Jake Grout, who had to come from the back from a first lap incident. He's now all the way to third and is the fastest car on the racetrack, albeit with a lot of dirty air in front. And with 55 to go this time by the stripe, it could come down to those three to determine your race winner. Michael Wiseman, essentially your pole sitter, lost the lead early, took it back early after a spin by Wayward Robinson, has not looked back since then as the control car for the field pace.
Well, I guess we saw Michael Wiseman, his move earlier by using that top lane to gain momentum, lapping half of the field is, at least for now, paying off. Him and Sean Urich were the two front runners of that strategy, and they are our front runners now. Jake Sylvia now back down the field. He is in 8th, now 1 lap down. So right now, 74 is in our lead. Strategy is working out.
Now that being said, Sylvia not in position per se to battle for the race win in theory, unless he gets a caution here once he gets the lead lap back. He is close to doing that, mind you. That being said, I don't know if there's going to be enough time to gain 15, 14 seconds around the racetrack here.
No, I don't think so, Justin. I think if you're not Jake Grout or Sean Urich, I think unless there's a caution, you have almost no chance of winning this. I think the only thing that could save some of these guys is a caution.
Just received word that Jake Sylvia had nearly burned up and nearly popped both his right side tires. Essentially, he was about a couple laps away from a blown tire. That's the reason Sylvia said, I gotta come in. He had 30 more laps to gas if he wanted to keep going.
Well,
for second, here comes Grout.
Well, that tells you now that we know that you couldn't go all the way on fuel. Tires would come in first. Grout now in that 49 on the bottom of Sean Urich, trying to take away this second position. Jake Grout wants to fight for the lead, but he's got to contend with Sean first. Sean takes it, crossover move, 97 on the bottom.
Crossover back, Urich forces Grout to regroup. Grout looks for the run back for turn 3. Ascend back up to the inside. Urich with a bit of a squeeze back for the corner exit. Grout forces the 97 up a touch to the wall. Urich losing momentum. Grout seems quicker.
Grout has an absolutely fast hot rod right there, ringing it around the bottom, but that 97 has huge momentum on the outside, able to keep it ahead. But Jake Grout, I think he has the faster car. 97 able to contend on the outside.
Currently these drivers 1.5, 1.6 seconds back. Despite this battle, by the way, they are catching up to Wiseman because Wiseman stuck behind lap cars. Grout nearly hits contact. Grout forced to regroup off the apron, and now Grout forced to reset.
Well, I can't believe he didn't spin right there after that contact. We got dust in front of him. Not sure who that was. Might have been an iRacing thing.
No, it was Tyler Muller. Muller spun around in front of the leaders. It stays green. Now Muller. Urich forced to check up as lap traffic.
Muller in the side, smashes into the wall, takes out Sean Urich. He's spinning, keeps it straight down the straightaway. Tyler Mueller smashes into the 97. Oh my goodness.
And no caution. We stay green. Urich has a broken axle. The 97 has to pit. With about 41 laps to go, this takes him out of contention.
Well, we saw as the 49 of Jake Grout and Sean Urich were battling, we saw some smoke from the one. Caution is out on the speedway for the first time since lap 7, Justin.
Race controls confirmed. It's because of that contact. And this changes everything. That evaporates the lead for Wiseman. Grout was evaporating it by a tenth a lap before. Now it's gone.
Wow, we'll see our replay here as to what happened. We'll see Muller just gets loose on that outside, slams it into the wall, and Sean Urich has no time to react. The one is right in the way, slams his right front tire into the number one, and absolutely destroys it.
And now, to be expected, the one car just parked it. And so, that means 7 cars on the lead lap, 8 with Casey Beatty and Lucky Dog. Here's the look on board.
Well, we're on board with that 97. Again, see that one gets loose, and the 97 has absolutely nowhere to go. The one comes back down the track, smashes into Urich.
And our look from the one, he spun it last time by. He definitely spun it this time.
It's just one of those overcorrections as a driver. It's very difficult to save these race cars. They're honestly very tight. And if you get sideways like that, you're able to catch it. But if you turn that wheel just a little bit too far to the right, your traction will grip up and you will shoot right into that outside wall, just like we saw Muller do.
And it looks like this could get interesting. Wiseman and Beatty didn't go the first time around here. Everybody else is already pit. Jake Kraut, everybody else completing service. And now this could get interesting on who the leader is, because this might have just cost these two the lead.
Oh, this was absolutely detrimental for Michael Weissman and Jake Grout. We saw Jake Grout had just gotten the position from Urich. He was closing in on Weissman. That caution is the last thing he wanted to see. But everybody else in this field, they are elated because of this caution, because everyone within the top 8 is now back on the lead lap and back within contention of this race.
So now it's Grout, who was the fastest car on track before the caution, the leader. And with only a 10-second stop, didn't need to put too much fuel into it, able to take more tires. In turn, Grant Brown, Deegan Smith, Sean Urich, Kyle Adams, your top 5. A lot of drivers already putting a star next to one driver, though, now that they're good on fuel. Jake Sylvia is in 6th. And drivers were saying on the radio that they were going to watch his pace to end the race. Now you got to watch the pace with everyone bunched up.
Man, this absolutely changes the game now, Justin. Everyone is on fresh tires. Tire saving is out the windshield. You are not thinking about that at all. It is run and go. We're going to have probably 35 laps to go here, maybe a little less, 32 or 33 laps to go. You're not thinking about tire saving anymore. It is go, go, go.
Drivers being reminded, go in the restart zone. EOL Casey Beatty as Lucky Dog. Wiseman pitting from the second lap, sacrifices the lead. He would have been the only driver staying on old tires in that situation. Green, 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 back underway. Jake Grout, Grant Brown, off and away. Grout clears for the lead.
Jake Grout made sure not to repeat his same mistake he had in the heat race. Gets a good start with Grant Brown directly behind, followed by Deegan Smith, Kyle Adams taking 4th, and Sean Urich, our man who was just involved in the incident, on the outside for 5th.
Side by side for the lead, Grant Brown's been preserving the speed all up to this point. Now it's time to yeehaw to the lead. Grant Brown looking, able to make the pass, and he's in the wall.
Grant Brown gets into the wall, tries to make a slide job there, but he gets into the wall, is able to hold on to it, gets a little air shove from the 15. The 14 of Grant Brown is your leader.
Deegan Smith already up to 2nd, too, with that initial checkup. Also trying to gain ground as Urich after the fast repair. Race control did allow him to take the 2nd fast repair. First fast repair is if requested. 2nd is if really needed. He got approval to use fast repair number 2 tonight.
Well, I think that was definitely the right call by race control. Sean Urich luckily had that and is not out of this race. He'll take to the outside, trying to get around Deegan Smith, trying to create some momentum. But Deegan Smith not looking out his rear view. He's looking out his windshield, trying to take this lead away from Grant Brown.
Well, now he has to look in the mirror because Urich says, you know what, I'm going to go to your inside now. Side by side for 2nd. Now Brown sliding the tires in front of them. Already less than 30 laps to go in this one. Urich trying to wrap the bottom. Already your points leader in this series, looking to add to those points. Try and find a way to clear Kyle Adams in the bubble spot.
Kyle Adams down there in fourth, just watching along with this battle, trying to make sure maybe if one of them makes a mistake, see if he can capitalize. But another big story, Michael Weissman back in sixth, just in front of, with battling Casey Beatty. They pitted later than everybody else. Not sure what happened to them, but these guys are battling up front.
Oh, that's wow. Adams training paint with a 15. Urich already using the very high line, looking to try to reel in downtown Grant Brown. Oh, wow, Adams tries to get a little bit closer to Deegan Smith. Smith makes contact a little bit with the air with Kyle Adams.
Little bit of net code there. They keep it straight. They keep it together. Kyle Adams putting up a great fight here on the bottom. Deegan Smith will take third position back. Urich ringing that top up front, trying to hunt down Grant Brown.
It's going to take a lot of work. Grant Brown's been preserving this all throughout. Now it's the battle more so for second. Smith again, inside line. 17-year-old trying to wrap the bottom, try and find a way to peek around. Deegan Smith from Rockton, Illinois, nearly to second, not able to clear yet. They're losing time now with this battle.
We saw earlier that top was absolutely powerful with that momentum, but I think as this track is rubbered up, as we had our extremely long green flag run, I think we're seeing now a change, and that bottom is actually the stronger line. People being able to wrap it and keep grip all the way on it. So I think that bottom line is now stronger. The 97 trying to battle back, keep second on the outside of Deegan Smith.
The gap up to 4/10, by the way, for Brown near scrubbing. Urich forced to lift yet again from the top. Brown still looking from behind his mirrors because Smith seems to be a touch quicker than the car in second. Not easy when you can't clear, though, to be able to make the job work for second. They're now losing about a half a tenth a lap with this.
He might be hoping here for a push from Kyle Adams. I was going to say the 14 was holding steady, but now he is starting to increase his lead on these three cars back here battling for second as they're slowing each other down.
Urich looks like he might have the chance to clear. No. Again, force the lift off down the front stretch. Urich is really chewing up that right front tire with how it's looking like it.
He's finally clear. He'll go back to the bottom. He'll hold second here from Deegan Smith. Now he's going to go try to get Grant Brown. Grant Brown just under half a second ahead, but now the 97 back to the outside. Deegan Smith looking to the bottom again.
Another poke coming to 16 laps to go. Urich really scraping the bottom of his car, bottoming out hard along that front valence and splitter. Still not able to clear. You know who's joined the fray? Casey Beatty's back. He's now using the top, and he's faster than all three of these cars.
Well, Casey Beatty is going to have to try to find a way through them because they are blocking every which part of the track. Now Kyle Adams trying to get under the 15 of Deegan Smith. Casey Beatty trying to not wreck anybody, trying to find his way around, pinpoint his car, and gain these positions.
Now changing up the lines. Deegan Smith nearly cutting off the nose of Adams. Coming around to 13 to go. Deegan Smith finally clear, at least to reset for third. More air contact. Beatty able to hold on to it with the drift. That should just about seal it for the top four when it comes to Beatty. There he goes, nearly turned himself across Adams.
Well, we've got this great battle here. Kyle Adams still trying to hold back Beatty, but Beatty has the run on the outside. He might take fourth here, but Adams is not yet done. We're coming up to 12 to go here at the line, or excuse me, 11 to go, and Grant Brown has almost a second lead on these four cars.
What a time for nervousness, to say the very least, up here. Beatty, not much time to be able to find a way to utilize that fast speed. Only a couple hundreds quicker. 10 laps to go. Grant Brown up by a second now. Beatty forced to try the bottom for third.
Beatty had those fresh tires. He pitted back with Michael Weissman, started from this restart in 8th, now up to 3rd, charging on the inside. Does he have enough laps to get back to the back of Grant Brown? I'm not sure, but he is fast.
But can he be fast enough? He needs to find a way to close up a lot in 8 laps. I don't think it's going to be possible from that far back. We've seen crazier things happen. Now he's forced to lift across the arrow. Urich making him a bit tight on top.
I think if Urich wasn't in his way, it was possible, but we know that 97 of Sean Urich is going to give the fight of his life, and that is going to be the stop to the momentum that Casey Beatty has, as we're going to come up here to now 6 to go at the line. Grant Brown still with a 2nd lead on these two guys.
Coming to 5 to go. Beatty looking for the inside. Looking to keep things squared away on points. Beatty inside, Urich outside. 5 to go. Urich still with the tiny edge. Beatty going higher and higher on exit.
Casey Beatty has such a strong car. He is so fast, but that 97 of Sean Urich has that momentum, and that's enough to hold this 45 back. He just cannot quite get by that yellow and black machine of Urich. He's being held up.
Coming to 3 laps to go. Beatty now tries the diamond off the corner. Again, has to blip the throttle. Just at the very edge of the rev limiter with the speeds here. Beatty, again a push up. 2 laps to go from Bristol down to a final mile.
Down to the final mile. Casey Beatty still gets loose off the corner, gives the position up to Sean Urich. That might be it for this battle for 2nd. Sean Urich holds it. Casey Beatty follows behind. Now we're coming to the white. Just half a mile to go at the Great Coliseum.
White flag is out. Final time around from Bristol. The Triple Crown Showdown. For the first time today, Grant Brown making an appearance in the series. Through 3 and 4, Grant Brown will take the checker flag and win. 2nd place, Urich and Beatty for the title fight. Held on by Urich for 2nd by about a 10th.
What an absolute battle. I've got to say, I did not see this race going like this at all. We saw Michael Weissman leading the entire thing, putting almost half of the field a lap down, but that caution that wrecked Sean Urich changed the whole game.
What did I say? Grant Brown had expectations of speed. He's built them over the platform's time on the short track side. He's able to get it done at Bristol. From 8th to 1st to get the dub today. So as Grant Brown celebrates on the front straightaway, we'll take a quick step aside when we come back. Race results, post-race coverage. You're watching Podium for coverage of Misfit Touring Series Racing, the Triple Crown Showdown from Bristol.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Podium Esports for coverage of the Triple Crown Showdown here today from Bristol. What a finish and what a race today for Grant Brown. Let's take a look at your unofficial race results here, as after a caution shuffled the field and after a huge mistake on timing for Michael Weisman, it's Brown who is able to capitalize and take the checkered flag over Sean Urich and Casey Beattie. Your fourth place spot going to Deegan Smith, Jake Sylvia in the top 5. Adams, Michael Weisman absolutely dominated this race until the last caution because of the crash involving Urich in lap traffic. In turn, what could have been for a driver who looked fast all day. Jake Grout, he falls 3 seconds back in the end to 8th position. He was moving, and then he wasn't. Drivers laps down include Legat, Moore, and your DNF, Shell, Kogan, Calbro, Robinson, and Bush today. No start for Matt Urban. Let's look once again at your race results here today. And Scott, that was an interesting one to say the very least.
I absolutely could not have told you what I expected going into this race. We know, we talked about it earlier, what kind of racing Bristol produces, but golly, I have never thought that putting the late model stock on it would produce something to the such and the likes of that. It was absolutely thrilling.
So with that being said, it's time to talk with your top 3 per Misfit Touring Series classifications. We'll do 3, 2, 1 today. Casey Beattie going with number 3. And Casey, you were coming through the field and fast after getting the lucky dog in the final caution. What was going through your mind as you tried to get your way from the back to the front of the final restart?
I kind of knew I needed to go right from the get-go there on that yellow. I made a mistake early, sped on pit road, cost me a drive-through penalty and put me 2 laps down, but precautions played in my favor there, and everybody came down, and I was still able to pit, so had tires to race with those guys. Definitely not the race I wanted, but I'm happy with it driving up through the field there, and really wanted Sean to get that advantage in points, but came up 1 position short on that.
What was kind of the reaction from you and your teammates on, we're doing green flag pit stops in this car at Bristol? What was kind of the reaction going on?
Oh, it was definitely wild. I thought we were gonna get a lot more cautions and pit stops were gonna come during those, but it was definitely a cool thing to do. You don't really see it very often on short track stuff. All of us were kind of like, do we take fuel here? Do we take 4? Do we take 2? It was kind of just trying to find the balance there of how long can you be on pit road to not lose much.
Next race, the Paperclip. Martinsville Speedway to close out the Triple Crown Showdown. Your thoughts on the Paperclip?
Hate it. No, I know I didn't really like this place much in this car, but I definitely don't like that place. For some reason, shifting comes into play, and to be fast, you got to shift, and it's a love-hate relationship there.
That being said, anyone we want to give a shout out to here today?
Jake Art Racing, RKM shop, setup shop, Brian Kuhn, he built an awesome setup for us tonight. Congrats to Grant Brown, a teammate, getting the win there. Jake Kraut fell off a little bit there at the end, but we were all kind of on the same strategy there. And shout out to them. Shout out to you guys for broadcasting this. Shout out to Kyle Adams and all the MRL crew for putting this on. RG Gosling, Creative Counters, VSS, Dance Express. That's about it.
Well, thank you very much for the time, Casey. Congratulations on the top 3 tonight.
Thank you.
Casey Beattie getting a podium finish here today. Second place went to Sean Urich. He's with Scott.
Well, Sean, what an absolutely amazing race. We see you finish second here today. We saw you finish second last week at Slinger. You are at the top of our points right now for Triple Crown Showdown. How does that make you feel?
It feels good for sure. I mean, again, like before, I think it was 2 days before I decided I should run the Triple Crown, and then I decided to make the most of it, and it's been going really well, I guess.
Well, again, you had that second place finish last week. Coming into today, late model stocks at Bristol. What were you thinking? What were you thinking about tires, fuel? Where was your head at with strategy?
I think my biggest concern was just like the tires, how I would manage it. But thankfully, if you ran the outside, the right rear would wear off. If you ran the inside, the right front would wear off. At first, I accidentally wore down the right rear too much, so I was sliding all over the place when I was entering the pits. The first time I lost it, spun out. I was able to recover really quickly though, so it was still good. And then the second time, I started running the bottom instead, and then I lost the right front. But thankfully, there was that yellow, which really helped. And if you ran the middle, you'd just be perfect.
So interesting about that yellow because actually you were the big guy involved. Tyler Muller got loose right in front of you, nowhere for you to go. What were you thinking when that happened right in front of your eyes?
Well, first I didn't know what the deal was with the fast repairs, and then I figured it out. Then afterwards, I was just worried about like if that. Thankfully, I was in third under that yellow. My biggest concern was just again laps, being a lap down maybe. If I did have to pit under green, thankfully the yellow came out right before I entered the pit, so that definitely saved me.
Well, Brown won the race, but I think you were the big winner today, coming up in second at our points lead. Before I let you go, Sean, anyone you'd like to thank today?
I'd like to thank Sunny Side Up Cafe, Jolly Good Soda, Victory Fuel, Accurate Stamps, School Service, On Time Promotions, not on time again. Sign Design Co. Laser Images Racewear, RKM for providing the setup, and Jared Shell for all of the setup help throughout the day. So it's definitely a lot of people to thank, and I wouldn't be here in the points lead without them.
Well, thank you, Sean. Everybody, that was Sean Urich, your current points leader in the Triple Crown Showdown. Up next, we're going to have your winner, Grant Brown, will be with Justin.
Yes, indeed. Grant Brown able to come from 8th to 1st. How does it feel, first of all, to get the win today?
Feels pretty good. I've been on a little bit of a hiatus from Misfit for a few weeks while we took care of some real life racing stuff, so it's good to be back like this.
Well, first of all, apologies to those on the language just utilized right there. But second thing second, talk to us about what the response was after you seen the caution, then got the chance to regroup after everything reset the field, basically.
It was great. I didn't expect Jake Grout to, I guess he kind of moved up and kind of went into save mode. We were sitting in the same channel, so I didn't really expect him to sit in the save mode. I was just kind of under the impression that it was time to go, and if it hit the fan, it hit the fan, and I guess my chance was gone, but I was going to try to get out while I could.
So with that being said, as you just said, you came off the break. In turn, Martinsville's next on the schedule. How prepared are you and the Speed Ranch groupings for the paperclip to close out the Triple Crown Showdown?
I think we'll be ready. Our partnership with our CAM setup shop has been great. It allows us eNASCAR and dirt guys to get a little more time to have some fun on the sim. So we've definitely been taking advantage of that in that sense. So I think we'll be pretty good. The RCAM cars have been really strong all season, so I expect that it'll be no different.
Any shout you'd like to give here tonight?
Sure. We'll give a shout out to Tanner Tomasi at Speed Ranch, Ryan Kuhn at RKM Setup Shop, Patriot Media and Marketing Services, Misfit Productions, Hotshot Photography, and DriverTees.com.
Well, congratulations once again on the run.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That's Grant Brown coming away with the victory here today. It's funny how you have two different groupings with the same setup, so to speak, in terms of partnership. Technically, that means it'd be about a 1-3-5 for any setups built to the RKM and Speed Ranch branding. That being said here tonight, Scott, your final thoughts on Bristol?
Man, again, like I said earlier, absolutely amazing race. I wouldn't have imagined something like this with the late model stock here, but man, I would love to see it again. Great pick by the guys at Misfit Touring, Misfit Productions, to choose a track like this with the car for the Triple Crown Showdown. I'm absolutely excited. I loved it, but you know what I'm even more excited for? Next week at Martinsville.
Yeah, the paperclip's going to be a wild one to say the very least. 200 laps for the feature once again there. We'll see how those drivers fare out to close out the Triple Crown Showdown. The battle to determine who gets themselves that award and who gets themselves that championship. Starting 4 p.m. Eastern, live on Misfit YouTube here, as well as on Podium Esports. With that being said, just about all set to close things out here from Bristol, Tennessee, before we head to Virginia. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in for today's action once again. Once again, thank you once more to everyone a part of the team today, whether it's Christian Hill as our producer, co-announcer once again for today's action in the booth, Scott Shive. I'm Justin Prince saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your day or evening. We'll see you next time when we go to Martinsville. But until then, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you from the Paperclip.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.